What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HnH Podcast. A very exciting episode today. Our first official guest, Myles Gibbon, also known as the TheQBMovement on Instagram. We are really excited to have him on for an interview. But before that, we just want to ask that you please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate the support you guys gave us the first two videos, and we ask that support continues. We really do appreciate that. Hamza, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Just a disclaimer to start off with. If you think that my voice sounds actually better first, because I just realized that the last two episodes, actually, before joining our little session here, my mic hasn't been turned on. And then people are wondering why, hey, why does Josefa sound so much better than you? I'm like, man, I have no idea. I realized that my mic was not on. So, like, I'm just going to mute myself real quick just to show an example. Currently talking right now, it's probably not working. Or did I? No, I didn't mute myself.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
So, like, there you go. That's an example. And also, I've lost my voice the last 2 days. I'm not sick. I've just been losing my voice. And, yeah, other than that, I've been doing good. It's been a fun week. It's, I'm very excited for this episode. And, yeah, I can't wait to get going.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Before we get into the interview with Coach Myles, some news around the NFL. There was a signing this week. Do you want to comment on the signing?
For sure. So, we got some breaking news, guys. The Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons have finally come to an extension. A 4-year, $200 million deal, $125 million guaranteed. The Cowboys have finally extended Micah. Let's go. And that is something I will hopefully say, because again, my voice is going crazy right now. Because the Cowboys, again, another day where Jerry Jones has not extended Micah for some odd reason, and another day where us Cowboys fans will be pissed off because this contract extension has been going on for way too long, and this is getting annoying. But anyways, the real breaking news is that the Buffalo Bills and James Cook have come to a contract extension, 4-year, $48 million deal with $30 million guaranteed. This makes James Cook the 7th highest paid running back in the National Football League. Hey, this is pretty big news especially for Bills fans and NFL fans around the world. This is one of the contracts that have been lingering for quite a while this offseason. I personally think James Cook, deserved the contract. I think James Cook has been a very reliable running back for the Buffalo Bills for the last few seasons. There's talks, with in between Buffalo Bills fans and NFL fans around the world talking about, we don't even need James Cook. We have Ray Davis, but James Cook is the guy for the Buffalo Bills, and I think it's well-deserved. I think James Cook got his bag that he needed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%. I think the value that he's being signed at is exactly what he deserves. Like you mentioned, he's, I think, 7th in the NFL now in terms of running back salary. So that is really good news for Buffalo fans, really good news for fantasy football fans. I know I had him last year, and he was great. So I think it's great for Buffalo, good for Josh Allen to get his sidekick behind him, and we'll see how Buffalo does this year. And one thing I'll announce too is we've got a lot of comments from people and some recommendations for some future episode ideas. And next week, we'll actually go into a fantasy football deep dive and basically talk about some sleeper players that you guys should be looking at. I know we're right around the corner right now for fantasy football. I know I got a couple drafts in the coming weeks.
Back-to-back champs, baby. We're going for the 3-peat.
Say again?
I said I'm back-to-back champs in my league. We're going to go for the 3-peat.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the playoffs again. Last year was a really disappointing year for me, but that's that. So we'll have an episode next week about fantasy football deep dives, and then we'll also have another segment where we talk about a division winner predictions. That was a mouthful, but we'll go through pretty much every team in every conference in the NFL, division in the NFL, and then we'll just kind of predict who we think is going to make the playoffs, who's going to come out of those divisions. And we'll ask that you guys please comment on those videos and see if you agree or disagree and your overall takes on that. But before we get into the second half of this episode, This weekend was the first weekend of NFL preseason.
For sure.
So Hamza, I'll start out by asking you from a Cowboys perspective, your thoughts on the preseason game, who stood out, who didn't, and what are your thoughts after week 1 preseason?
So, fun fact, actually, I wasn't even able to watch the game live. I was traveling back on a team bus with the football team I play with. Shout out the Ottawa Sooners.
Yes, sir.
But after watching the game, honestly, it was a little underwhelming to say the least. I think Joe Milton himself was a little underwhelming. They have a lot of high expectations for Joe Milton. Dak Prescott being injury prone. Now I think we can classify as Dak as being kind of an injury prone quarterback. We have Cowboys fans have, dude, come on, man. He's been injured quite a lot recently. Come on, man.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been. Exactly.
No, you're right.
As Cowboys fans, we're very excited when the Cowboys have traded for Joe Milton. And again, I'm not trying to overreact, just one game, but Brian Schottenheimer did say, we're trying to change the offense in terms of, we want to run the ball down your throat. But first 6 plays of the game, offensively, man, we're just chucking the ball out there. We're not even trying to run. And I get it. I understand. It's preseason. It's not really it's not going to show how things are going to be in the regular season. But to say the least, I was pretty underwhelming with Joe Milton's performance. I think he definitely could have played better. I think, some of his throws that he made were just like, man, I have the strongest arm. I'm just going to throw it out there to see who can get it. There was some flashes, a couple players that come to mind were Trayshawn Holden, undrafted free agent out of Oregon. Phil Maffa, who had a pretty good game. He had 10 carries for 36 yards, averaging 7.5 carries per game, per game. And also, man, Marius Leafau, dog.
I was gonna say that.
Marius Leafau is a dog.
Yeah, that linebacking core is scary, dude. It's when he's there, Overshown, Kenneth Murray when healthy, Jack Sanborn. But yeah,
sure.
Marius Leafau was.
We saw a lot of flashes from Marius Leafau last year especially when DeMarvin Overshown went down with injury. We also even saw this type of play when he was in college at Notre Dame. Just a vicious linebacker, someone that would just try to run through you. He has that dog mentality. He doesn't care who's in front of him. He will run right through you and get that tackle for loss or whatever. Man, my voice is killing me right now. But anyways, Marius Leafau, he was good. And, of course, the Cowboys, lost. But, again, it's just preseason. I don't think there's too much to overreact to.
Yeah, I agree. Preseason number 1, so the record really doesn't matter at all. Regarding Joe Milton, I agree with pretty much everything you said. A little bit underwhelming. You thought we would see a little bit more. We saw some nice clips in camp before that game, so you were expecting a little bit more out of him. But as week 1 preseason, there was 26 players, or I think it was something in the 30s that didn't dress, and 27 of them are actual starters. So I'm not too worried about that. What are you gonna say?
No, I was also gonna say that one of the biggest hits from that game was CeeDee Lamb got popped by the ref.
That was hilarious. Yo, I couldn't believe that. Like that ref the side angle. The side angle of that clip was crazy. I thought CeeDee, the most Cowboys thing ever would have been CeeDee getting hurt from that.
No, for sure.
His hat flew, and in the background you see the ball going to Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah,
and just to see CeeDee get destroyed. That was hilarious. Well, we'll put a clip right now for you guys to watch that as we're talking about it. But
for sure,
that was hilarious. But Cowboys preseason week 1. Not too worried about it. It is what it is. Preseason week 1. Still, the cloud over training camp is Micah and his camp. Hopefully, they get signed. You saw James Cook get signed earlier today, so you hope Micah's next. But we'll see how that goes. And then this weekend they play against Cowboys legend Cooper Rush and the Ravens this weekend.
I wouldn't even call him legend, man. I was never the highest on Cooper Rush. You know me. I don't really. Yeah, no, I was never the highest on Cooper Rush. I don't know why. But
no, he had when Dak was down, he had a couple solid games, and I just hate whenever a quarterback makes a good play. It's always like all the tweets and all the comments are like he's already better than Dak. Let's calm down with that. There's no need for that. But we play the Raiders this week. Anyone else comes around the league that kind of stood out for you in preseason?
Yeah, Loki. Shadur Sanders. I think Shadur Sanders actually had a great first preseason game. My opinion, I always thought Shadur Sanders was a first round pick. Very, very, very surprising that he fell all the way down to the fifth round. A lot of the rookie quarterbacks actually showed pretty great signs. Cam Ward, first overall pick. Even Jalen Milroe also had a great game, and also Jackson Dart as well. I'm very excited to see where these rookie quarterbacks play this year, like how they play this year. But yeah, I think it's always fun having NFL football back, dude. This my voice is like actually like terrible, but
Drink some
like
water. Get some water or orange crush to help
yeah,
you.
but
To help you out a little bit.
anyways,
So
yeah,
drink some orange crush. Drink some orange crush.
no, that would make it 10 times worse. Actually, I think a Fanta would help.
All right,
Yeah. Anyways,
that
like
was
I was
crazy.
gonna say, I think it's always fun having NFL football around, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
100%. And my stand-up was also another quarterback. You mentioned him, Jalen Milroe from Seattle. I thought, he played a bit the second half, and you can just see his athletic ability outside the pocket, him running. So I think that's a player to watch down the road for Seattle. A dynamic player, really, really fast, and someone that can kind of bring that spark to that team. But speaking of quarterbacks, we have a really, really special guest joining us, as mentioned, Myles Gibbon, founder of the QB Movement. So now with that, we ask that you please enjoy that interview with Myles. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, Hamza, anything you want to say before the interview?
No, just stay tuned. We have a really fun interview ahead. That's it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. He is a former Vanier College alum, a quarterback at the University of South Alabama and York University here in Canada, and now founder of one of, if not the best, QB clinic movements in the country. The QB Movement, also known as Myles Gibbon. How you doing, Coach?
I'm good, man. How you guys doing? Long time no see.
For
It's been
sure.
too long. It's been
You're
way
doing
too
good.
long. How's the summer been, Coach?
It's been good. Been busy. Been coaching. I mean, well, you guys kind of know what we do. Obviously, Z, OG from the beginning. One of our first quarterbacks, part of the program. Then Hamza, obviously, you came on a little later as you grew up. But yeah, man, when you messaged me asking about this, like it made me think, like, man, I met this kid when I think you were like 13.
Yeah.
13, 14,
Crazy.
big feet, long arms, clean mechanics. Yeah, so it's been a minute, but yeah, just grinding, training, getting the guys ready, and season's about to start, so pretty pumped about it.
100%. So, Coach, you just mentioned OG. Obviously, I've known you for a very, very long time. Remember those? I forget that field name, kind of downtownish Ottawa. We were out there with my dad.
Yeah.
Tell us about your journey, like kind of why you started coaching quarterbacks, and just kind of your journey as to where you are now.
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, and I mean, you experienced it probably early on, is just there wasn't a lot of quarterback development, right? So I grew up with my dad, who was a hockey player, played center, really good football coach, but wasn't a quarterback guy. So in terms of mechanics, didn't really have anybody teaching me the way. And you would assume the higher and higher you get, people would kind of show you. But even by the time I got to South Alabama, like I wasn't doing any quarterback specific training. So, from there, when I finished at York, I was fortunate enough to get a master's degree in kinesiology, studying the development of quarterbacks. And from there, I kind of decided, instead of becoming an OC or a head coach, like my passion was more on the individual, right? Like helping guys get better at their craft. So yeah, and that's kind of where the whole idea of QB movement came from. So like a lot of people ask me, like, is it about the movements you make as a quarterback? I'm like, no, it's about creating like a vision or a training guide for guys who really want to excel at the position. And so it was kind of like we're creating a new movement of quarterbacks. And so that's where the QB movement started. Finished up at York, transferred. I ended up moving to Ottawa. That's where I met you guys. Some of the OGs, trained there for 2 years, and I moved back to Montreal. And that's kind of when things blew up. So fortunately, it's been 10 years now, just nonstop training quarterbacks, of all ages, all levels, traveling the world, just working with dudes everywhere and, having a blast. So no, can't complain, but yeah, it's been a minute.
So, Coach, a lot too. So you mentioned going global, and I've followed you obviously since the beginning. And to think we started a little dome in Ottawa, Gridiron Academy in the beginning, and then kind of our private sessions at Millennium, to now on Instagram seeing you literally all over the place. You mentioned China, Malaysia, Thailand, and now you mentioned off air that there's some exciting things in the fall as well. So do you want to talk about that and kind of what you've seen from these international quarterbacks that you, I guess, didn't really expect to see them kind of ball out the way they have, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, shout out to Coach Vic, Gridiron Academy. Honestly, without him, all this, I don't know if it never would have continued to grow. So shout out to him. From there, when I got back here, obviously we were coaching locally. We had a couple of guys going down south, but when COVID hit, it was kind of like a weird time where a lot of guys started getting involved with the online training, the online coaching. And it just so happened some guy out of Malaysia hit me up and was like, hey, we have a couple quarterbacks who want to work them. And I'm like, sure. So we started doing some online training, ended up getting invited to come out and do a quarterback camp out there very kind of last minute. And within 2 weeks, they had 50 quarterbacks from 7 different countries all around Asia who were going to pull up. So ended up going out there, was able to bring my family, go to Singapore, experience the world with them. And then from there, a month later, we flew back out to China. So did a camp in China. It went so well to the point where 6 months later, so this past April, we did another 4 camps all across China in Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou. And so now that's filtered into a whole new opportunity. So yeah, this fall we're going out to Kuwait to help their national team prepare their quarterbacks. From there, we're doing a mini camp in Egypt and in the Philippines, and then going back to China for another week of just straight camp. So, with the explosion of flag football, with the Olympics and everything, it's just people want to develop and they want to develop properly. So, good timing, good networking, and obviously, showcasing a good product. They were just like, we need more and more and more. So slowly getting more and more international every year. I hate flying, but the Aeroplan miles are pretty good. So just kind of moving around. And, fortunately for me, I can bring my family along. So this year they're going to meet me in Indonesia after we finish up and have a little vacation. So it's, it's been wild, but like you said, Z, we gotta find something out in Pakistan and get something rolling.
Yes, I'll be on the phone tomorrow. We'll get that done.
There you go.
But Coach, I got a question for you here. Out of the many years you've done, training, and would you say is the one quarterback you tell your students to kind of look at based off their mechanics and just everything basically?
That's a loaded question, man. You can't make me do that to the guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys. So that's the cool part about mechanics is, our body limitations change what we can do mechanically, right? If you have a really flexible rotator cuff, you have really good external rotation, you're going to be able to whip that ball from a lot of different angles, right? Some guys have really good hip mobility, or just the idea of being slightly double jointed can help you in throwing the football. Like there's a lot of little things in terms of our body that if we can control and manipulate, will change how we throw, right? So I don't necessarily like comparing guys to other guys. Usually what I'll say is, you watch a guy like Aaron Rodgers, right? He's one of those really quick twitch, ball out, quick guys. If you watch a Josh Allen, he's a longer stride, longer motion, but the ball comes out just as quick because his levers are long, the action comes quicker, right? So it's more about telling guys to throw like guys who have similar personality traits and body traits. So mechanically, I don't think there's anybody out there who's perfect. I mean, we look at the college football landscape right now, and we mentioned a little off air, I'm really hyped for, Christian Veilleux, a local Ottawa guy, who he has super clean, compact mechanics, right? He's a guy who I tell guys to watch. Like he's going to be really, really clean. But yeah, it really depends on kind of what you do. So I don't think there is a perfect way to look at it. We're all going to be a little bit different.
For sure.
That's awesome. And Coach, I wanted to touch a little bit more back on the international stuff because that stuff's like super fascinating to me. If you told me 10 years ago that Coach would be traveling the world and coaching these kids in these different countries that you mentioned, like Malaysia, China, Thailand, and obviously Qatar you mentioned in the fall, like have there been any, like not necessarily the names of these kids, but have you been shocked at all to see the talent that these kids are producing internationally? I guess you mentioned the flag as well, like flag football is now Olympics in 2028, I believe. So have you been kind of brought back and like, damn, like they actually are not just.
It's kind of like even if you ran a camp here, there's always going to be that little percentile of guys who just kind of wow you, right? So even guys back there, like you'd be surprised how much these guys are watching Instagram, YouTube, breaking down and watching NFL quarterbacks throw, and they're so eager to learn. So that's probably been the most gratifying thing about going is like you have a group of 50 quarterbacks who have never really been taught, but they've paid a lot of close attention. So all of a sudden you start giving them the small details and information about things that they've been wondering so long about, that they just take it all in. Like it's so fun to watch. But yeah, there's some studs out there. Like China, obviously Japan is really good. Obviously Mexico is doing really really well. Like these they're balling. Like they're good. Obviously, I think Canada, USA, we have a little leg up on them, but they're going to catch up quicker than we think. But so it's been exciting.
That's great. That's actually crazy to know. That's crazy.
It's pretty cool. Well, our female, so our national team Canada, they're in China right now. Okay, so there's a big tournament going in Chengdu. The World Games. So Team Canada is playing in like 2 hours, I think, against USA. So I'll be watching. Yeah,
that's unreal. That's awesome.
Shout out Sarah Parker. Let's go. Quarterback for Team Canada. She's awesome.
Just another question here for you. So like over the years, we've seen I wouldn't necessarily say pretty big change, but we've seen definitely a shift of the way quarterbacks are now throwing the ball. You go from back in the day where, it was much more classic, balls coming up from here, not as much hips and legs. When do you think, that kind of shifted into, which is now the modern day of throwing the ball where, the hips are now intact, all that kind of stuff?
I don't think it's as long as people think, right? Like if you look back to like Elway, you look back to Favre, they were doing a lot of the things that we're talking about today, but I think it's the glorification, like the immense impact that social media has, where we can post all these clips and talk about these clips, and more people are seeing it. So it's just the ability to see it, where maybe back then it was a few old school coaches that were teaching it a few ways, but these guys who had the natural ability to sling a football were just slinging a football. So you can go back and see a lot of dudes who are ripping it the same way the guys are doing it now. I just think over time, probably in the last like 10 years, people have just realized how much more comfortable, healthy, in terms of longevity it is to throw from a different arm path, right? From, using your hips instead of your arm, we're no longer going to see the end of quarterbacks' careers, meaning that they can't throw a football, right? You see some quarterbacks now, they throw a football, like they just can't, their shoulder can't handle it. So I think that's where we're going to see a big shift, is just the longevity of the arm and being able to throw. And then more importantly, I think back then you could get away with a longer arm path, a longer stride, because guys were a little bit slower. Where now you got Myles Garrett running off the edge of the line, you got to get that ball out quick, right?
Michael Parsons,
guys, and him. I don't know if he's going to be a Cowboy anymore, but we'll see. But yeah, so you got to get the ball out quick. So we've started to teach, faster front foot strike, right? Faster external rotation, get the elbow through to target, a little bit more extension focus to get the ball with a little bit more pop instead of kind of, driving the football. We've come into a point, and now we see it a lot in flag football too, where we have to stay back, right? It used to be a lot of like moving up. Now we're kind of moving back because we got to get the ball out quicker. So we're almost throwing and getting away from pressure as opposed to trying to climb up through the pressure. So it's just different ways, different techniques. So it doesn't mean that we can't throw that way. And we preach it all the time, where, you're going to have to throw over the top. You're going to have to use your arm in certain cases, but overall you're going to get a little bit more consistency, more efficiency in certain movement patterns. And that's kind of what we try to teach most guys.
That's awesome. And Coach, you mentioned that like the different arm pass and the longevity of quarterbacks' careers. My question for you is, when you're starting with a quarterback raw, like he comes to camp, he comes to the first session, what's the number one thing you work on first? Like I know for me specifically, a lot of it was my feet. I had a bigger feet, wasn't the fastest guy, so we started there. Does that change depending on the quarterback, or do you have kind of a set, let's start with his feet or his hips or his arm path?
Yeah.
How do you kind of
everybody's different. So it's kind of like we said before, right? It's trying to figure out what the limitations of each athlete are, right? So some guys might have that natural, maybe they played baseball in the past. So they have really fluid, just throwing mechanics where, okay, so we're going to kind of really work on their upper half to see how we can manipulate the arm. There's some kids who are super raw and, they've never really played, so they don't know how to use their feet and their hips. So we might focus on the hips. So usually with any new quarterback, and this goes with our pro guys. So, we have new pros who come to teach with us, who come to start learn with us every year. Is we just throw the ball. We figure out let's evaluate, let's see where your flaws are, what your strengths are. And then we just kind of start ticking away from there. But for the most part, we'll start with just general mechanics teach, like make sure they understand what their body's supposed to be doing. And then probably the biggest shift from probably even when we were training way back in the day is getting guys to really feel and understand what the body's supposed to feel like at every point in the throw. So it's really breaking it down piece by piece and then finding ways to kind of bring it all together.
And one more thing, a few more questions for you, Coach. You mentioned the pro guys.
Yep.
That stuff is super fascinating to me, and I'm sure for you as well. Bo Levi Mitchell, current quarterback at Hamilton Tiger Cats, Vernon Adams, quarterback for
Yep.
Calgary Stampeders, two guys who I would argue are 1A, 1B in the league right now, just playing at an all-time level.
Yep.
How did that kind of come about? Did they reach out to you? And kind of when did that start training these guys? I think it's been a few summers now, if you can correct me if I'm wrong. But
Yeah. So it's been 2 years with Bo. It's been, I think, four with VA. So I met VA for the first time when he was in Montreal. So when he was in Montreal, we linked up, we connected for a few sessions. Then when he went out to BC, we did a lot of online training. He'd frequent back into Montreal quite a bit. So anytime he'd be in the city, we train, we work together. Really cool mechanical shift, right? He really changed how he threw the football, and it shows. Fortunately for me, him and Bo are pretty close. They both went to Eastern Washington. So I think through Bo, Vernon hooked it up, and then just one day I got a random call, and it was Bo, and he was on FaceTime, and he's like, "Yo, can we train right now?" And I was like in the middle of a session with some guys, and I was like, "Yeah, give me 20 minutes." And I just went to the side, and that's how we first met. And then from then on, it was just linking up as much as we could, and him too. Really big mechanical changes where just trying to be a little bit more efficient in his arm path and stuff like that. And obviously, the guy's a grinder, and it really he puts the work in, but you can see he's got a lot more control on the football, and leading the league right now. So really pumped for him.
That's awesome.
I also got another question for you. So, in your opinion, like in the NFL and college football, who would you say, like, which quarterback are you most excited to see how they do the season for the NFL and then college football?
I think I'm excited this year to see if JJ McCarthy lives up to the hype. I think obviously we, over the last maybe 5 years, and again with the explosion of social media, I think we put a lot of pressure on rookie quarterbacks or second-year quarterbacks to just make immediate impacts when I feel we shouldn't. So I'm excited to see how he does. Obviously, the guy's super clean. I feel like he's just an unknown right now, right? Like he did really well at Michigan with a really good running offense, but he made the throws when he had to. So I'm curious to see how that translates to the league. Another interesting guy, like, Spencer Rattler, he's had time being a starting quarterback now. Will he take the next step, or will they bring someone in? Like, I'm curious to see about that. Obviously I'm a huge Taylor Elgersma fan. He's one of our QB movement guys too. So seeing him at the Packers, he's doing really well. So getting the updates from him is really, it's exciting, to see, a local guy, true local guy, get a real shot at the NFL, and he's really taking advantage of it. So hopefully he continues to ball out. Obviously, college football coming through this year. Our boy CV, Christian Veilleux at Georgia State. He's primed for a really big senior season. That this is his chance to really kind of ball out and put his name on the map. So I'm really, really, really excited to watch him roll.
And Christian, if you're watching this, shout out. Gonna have you on the pod for an episode down the road. That'd be great. But so, Coach, you mentioned the Canadians, Taylor Elgersma, Christian. Nathan Rourke, quarterback for the BC Lions, his brother Curtis Rourke, I believe, got drafted by San Francisco late in this past draft. What have you kind of seen with this trend of now Canadian quarterbacks making their names known in the CFL, NFL now, and college football in the US? Like, what have you kind of seen from that, and why do you think they're only now starting to get the recognition that, as we both know, it's long overdue?
There's no doubt the training and the opportunities to get better have gone through the roof, right? So not only just training with me, but, kids getting opportunities to go down south and experience these camps. So, when I first started in Montreal, like, no kid was going to a prep school. Nobody was going down south, right? So nowadays, just this year alone, we've sent 4 guys to prep school. 6. We've sent 6 guys to prep school this year from our local group of guys that are training. We have Evan Shuba, who's at Purdue. We have, CV at Georgia State. Jeremy St. Hilaire is playing at Vanderbilt. We have more and more Canadian guys who are getting opportunities to play, right? So I think, one, they're training better, they're training harder, they're training more consistently. I think naturally we're just getting better, right? Even if you look at the U Sport teams where, it used to be that have one stud on the team, and then backup third string was a little bit rough, where now you look at University of Montreal, you look at University of Laval, you look across the country, and we're starting to get real depth where we don't just have a starting quarterback, we have a starter, a backup, and even a third string who could probably start at other schools. So just in general, the skill level is going way up because kids are training a lot better, a lot smarter, a lot harder. And that's a result of coaches like myself, other coaches that are doing it, but we're just giving kids more opportunities to get better. So I think that's what's really kind of changing the game.
100%. How much do you think the flag football scene is gonna positively change that as well? Like, I know I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you also part of the training or the tryouts for that as well?
Yeah. So I got picked up. So I'm the alternate quarterback for Team Canada. Awesome. Who we went down. We beat the United States in the LA. I think it was in LA. But yeah, we beat them out there and really put on a good show. I think the guys, we went undefeated. I was at home, so I'm the alternate. I'm on the bench waiting for my opportunity to play. But yeah, they did really, really well. Flag football in Quebec might be one of the biggest in the world, right? Flag football here, from the girls to the guys. We have kids as young as 5, 6 that are playing. So flag football is getting ready to take over. Right, a lot of those kids, and especially at the quarterback position, where kids who are maybe told you're too small, you're not big enough, your arms not strong enough to play on this 12-on-12 or 11-on-11 field. Well, now that field is shrunk. There's less players. You don't have to worry about getting hit. Well, all these kids who have crazy arms but didn't have the size, can now have a space to play football. So it's growing like wildfire, and we see it all across in different countries as well. But it's exploding. So I'm excited for it. Even from the female side of things, every year we're getting 10, 20 more female quarterbacks who want to get better, and that's what's really cool. And especially as a dad with a 4-year-old daughter, I'm hoping she wants to maybe play quarterback and maybe represent Team Canada at some point. But we'll see.
Awesome.
Yep.
And Coach, I got probably the most important question that you're going to be asked today.
Okay.
Right, you ready for this?
I'm not sure.
Orange Crush or Orange Fanta?
Which one offers like a 0?
They both do, I'm pretty sure.
They both do?
Yeah.
Big 0 guy, I see.
Yeah, I'm a little more old school. I think it's got to be Orange Crush. Orange Crush.
That's the only right answer. That's the only right.
Yeah.
Hamza, these followers of his are claiming Fanta's better. I don't understand it. It has to be Orange Crush.
Fanta's new age. Orange Crush is like old school longevity. They'll stand behind you. Fanta will leave you for the new.
Fanta's also old age. What are we talking about here? Fanta's been around
If you got to go grape, I'll go Fanta. But Orange Crush.
Interesting.
Great
Coach,
Fanta.
so we have I'm curious. So we have a fun segment that we do on this pod, and I won't take up too much more of your time. It's basically a QB spotlight. So what we do is we go around the NFL. We're going to go team by team essentially, and we've already done Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. We kind of look at their stats from last year, their yardage, their touchdown to reception ratio, QBR, and then kind of project what they'll do this year. And for our listeners, in the past, we would go to the exact yardage percentage, and we're not going to do that. It's way too complicated. So we'll just do a simple over-under the yardage. You mentioned his name earlier, so we're going to give it to you. I didn't tell you this off air, but we're going to give it to you. You're basically going to say if you think he's going to go over-under that yard, over-under the TD, and you can base that off of like if he's on a new team, acquisition, OC, whatever. So the quarterback I have for you today, I know it's one of your favorites, is Aaron Rodgers. He is now a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Before you give your answer, so last year he had just about 3,897 yards. So
he's over anything he did with the Jets. He's under his good years with the Packers.
Okay, there you go. That's pretty simple. So you say he had 28 touchdowns last year. That's tied 7th in the league.
Yeah.
So are you going to go over that this year?
With the Jets, yeah. With the Steelers, I think he goes over that.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then 11 interceptions.
DK, I think he's got a better line. He's got a better deep. I'm trying to think though. I think he goes over. He has no choice. He's got to go off.
DK's there too, and Arthur Smith likes to run the ball and create a lot of play action off of that. And Aaron Rodgers,
he
definitely he loves that. You know that too. Okay, so I like that. So you say over that.
I think he's over.
The yardage as well. You think he's gonna go over? I think so, right?
What do you say? 3,800?
Yeah, 3,800.
Yeah, he's got to hit 4K. I would think so.
Are the Steelers making the playoffs this year? The division's tough.
I think they'll make the playoffs. I don't know if they'll get through first round, but I think they make the playoffs. Yeah.
Typical Pittsburgh. We shouldn't say anything as Cowboy fans, but
again, I mean, but it's tough. And you even saw, like, he had the interview today where it's like he even mentioned himself, like, the culture's changing, right? He's like, I'm truly the old guy of this team. So I think it's going to really depend on if they buy into the hype. Like, everybody buys into the hype that he's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, but it's a different hype of, when you have Tom Brady who's coming off like a streak, and all of a sudden he comes in and he just continues that, where he kind of took a small I feel like personally, like, he took a hit going to the Jets, and now it's like he has to kind of bounce back up. So does the team buy into that, or do they not? I think they will. And it's probably the only time I'll ever root for the Steelers.
I'll never understand that Jets move that he made. It didn't make any sense. At what point do you think the Jets are going to be?
I just thought he was trying to. I thought he was trying to do a Brett Favre. I thought he was going to finish with the Vikings.
That's right.
But hey, guess not. We'll see.
Last question for me, Coach. Any advice that you would give any young quarterback listening to this podcast, or any young quarterbacks who you're currently working with? Any advice that you give them? Yeah. Can I go to you? Advice?
My biggest advice, and I get a lot of DMs, we get a lot of messages from kids, and they're like, like, my coach tells me this, and this coach does this. There's so much easy access to information right now, whereas you cannot be ping-ponging your brain all over the place, right? It's find someone you like, find a coach that you like or that you believe in, and kind of follow and stick within those guidelines so that you're not trying to constantly change what you're doing, right? Reach out to those coaches, right? A lot of guys like me will answer and see your DMs, right? And if a kid sends me a video, I will give them some small little details of what you think. If you like what that coach says, then stick with it. But too many times I'm like, a kid will message me and be like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? And they'll be like, they'll list out like 4 other coaches that have given them 4 different points about the same thing. And they'll be like, which one do you think I should listen to? And I'm like, you got to figure out the way you throw. And that's why I was saying everybody throws differently, right? The capabilities of your body are different from someone else. So you got to find something, trust it, believe it, because yes, it's amazing to have so much information like on your phone, but at the same time, it can hurt you if you're overloading your brain with so many different ideas and ways to throw the football. And, like, kids asking me, like, they'll be in an arm slot here and they'll be like, well, should I move it like to here? And I'm like, that's not going to change what happens to your throw. Right? Like, learn how to maybe use your hips better, stabilize your front side. That'll fix your arm. But there's a lot of like key things that are going on right now where my biggest suggestion to new quarterbacks, and especially the ones that maybe don't have a coach or they're just experiencing all this information, is try to find someone that you trust that you can talk to, and then kind of stay in that lane and then kind of see where that develops you. And if all of a sudden you don't like it and you're like, you know what, maybe this isn't for me, then shift. But the whole ping-ponging back and forth, cut it out, because it's not helping your game.
Another add-on to that, sorry, Hamza, real quick. I remember when you and I used to work together a lot, you used to give me some advice and look at my footwork and stuff, but then anytime I would go to my actual team's quarterback coach or my university's quarterback coach, they would tell me something else. And so I was always in that moment of like, what do I do? And I know I've messaged you in the past, like, hey, coach, like, what do you say? So what do you say to that too? Because I know a lot of kids listening to this, they're hearing it from you in the summer, and then in 2 weeks is the fall football, and they go back to their high schools or their JUCOs. So what do you say to that when
it's probably the number one comment we'll get, right? Because we get very technical with it, where every piece is connected to another piece, and at the end of the day, an OC, a quarterback coach, technically isn't there for your mechanics, right? They're there to make sure your read progressions are proper, you're putting your eyes in the right spot, you're throwing touchdowns. That's end of the day, you're throwing touchdowns, nobody cares, right? You throw the ball however you want, you throw it behind your back. If you're scoring touchdowns, people aren't going to be upset. When you get to camp, at that point, you're out of my hands, right? And your goal is to get on the field and you got to play. So what I tell kids in that situation is, whether it's wrong, it could be completely wrong. Just nod your head and say, okay, coach, I'll try. Let me see what I can do. And then maybe stick to your foundations, right? Do what you do, throw touchdowns. If you start throwing touchdowns, those comments will start to go down, right? If you're throwing picks, you're probably going to get more of them. But you got to listen. You got to be accepting. You cannot say, well, I've been training like this all summer, this and that. It just creates, negativity between you and your coach. And at the end of the day, you two need to be a team. So whether you don't like it or not, that's your leader. So you got to say, yes, coach, I'll do what I can. Listen to the feedback and maybe take it off on the side. If you have a good relationship with your coach, being, you know what, okay, coach, like now we're away from everybody. Can we watch the film? Can you tell me what you see? I've had coaches be like, well, I want you to throw like this guy, but that guy's played in the 80s, so it's like, hey coach, can we watch some Aaron Rodgers? Can we watch some of this guy and this guy, some Justin Herbert, Justin Herbert, big, long arm guy. Like, he makes it work. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. So, you cannot get into a battle with your coach about, mechanics and that stuff. Your job is to throw touchdowns, and his job relies on you throwing touchdowns. So do what you got to do to make sure that you're playing good football. And then, if you got a good quarterback coach, maybe you talk to him and reach out to him and, say, this is what my coach is telling me. How can I find the best middle ground? And that's what I do with a lot of our guys, is find the good middle ground so that, everybody's happy and we keep throwing touchdowns. That's all that matters.
That's great advice. That's really good advice. Hamza, anything you want to, any last few words or questions you got for Coach?
No, I think we kind of touched on everything. I think some great advice, and we appreciate everything.
Last
so
one. I know.
Question for you guys.
Okay. Yeah.
Question for you guys. Okay. So you've seen the development post NFL. When you were watching them in college football, who would you have drafted higher, C.J. Stroud or Justin Fields? After college football.
So after we're taking away NFL, or we're considering
you don't know what happened in the NFL. Who would you have looked at coming out of college football as the most potential in the NFL? C.J. Stroud or Justin Fields?
So you go first. How do you think about
this? This question could be answered in like multiple ways. I think in a sense that if you look at just a team perspective, I think C.J. Stroud had it all. I mean, look at his wide receiver room. He had Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. Like, he had all these. I'm not sure if he had Chris Olave, but he had all these dudes. If you look at the team perspective and reason why C.J. Stroud was able to play that good, and I'm not taking credit away from C.J. Stroud. Like, C.J. Stroud is an amazing quarterback. But what Justin Fields also did in college was pretty remarkable. I think Justin Fields, statistically in Ohio State, will probably go down as one of the better quarterbacks to play at Ohio State. Not, forget NFL. You want to just look at you just want to look at about what he just did at Ohio. God damn, I can't speak. If you just want to look at what he did at Ohio State, I think it's up there. I think, in my personal opinion, I would take Justin Fields coming out of college.
First of all, Coach, that's a great question, Coach. You should
have a good one to ask.
That was a good one. Okay, Hamza goes Justin Fields. For all those reasons Hamza said, I'm gonna go CJ Stroud. For one of two reasons. Number one, I think his mechanics coming out of college, his base, his velocity on the ball, his accuracy. I don't care who he played with I don't care who his receivers are. The quarterback still has to get them the ball. You understand what I'm saying? So I would go just CJ Stroud in that sense. Also, his athletic ability. I know Justin Fields is a lot faster. He's able to run around a lot more. But CJ also was able to do that at a high level. So I'm gonna go CJ just because I think he's more of a polished. I'm trying to take away NFL out of my head, but I think he was more of a polished product coming out of college than Justin Fields. A lot of questions about Justin Fields was his accuracy, his ability to drive the ball down the field. No questions, of course, about his athletic ability, but the stuff that you need coming out of college to make a saying in the NFL, I think CJ had more of that. That's a great question. What would you do?
Yeah, well, I think in college, they were the perfect example of they were very level. One was a little bit more methodical. One was a little bit more athletic, right? And that can go in both ways, especially when you're getting drafted in the NFL. My biggest thing is I think once they both hit the NFL, one developed a lot quicker than the other, right? Yes. CJ at Houston got a lot better really fast. And I think Justin Fields got, delayed a little bit in his development. So I'm curious to see if he kind of finds a way to level up.
How much of that is the team you think, though?
A lot, for sure. For sure. It's the QB coach in that room. It's the GM. It's the guys around you. It's the way you practice. It's not a secret. Some teams practice better than others, right? So I think it is a lot of your surroundings and, in the off season, what you're doing and the way you're changing. And, there's a lot that goes into it. But I think a lot of the things that surrounded CJ once he got to the NFL were a little bit more positive than Justin. But I think Justin Fields, the story's not done. There's a lot of cool stuff on the horizon for him, and it might take a little bit longer, but he's gonna find something for sure.
That's true. Sure. I know this is my last question. I got one more. I need you to finish the sentence for me.
Okay.
The best quarterback in the NFL after this season coming up will be.
It's a three-headed horse, man. Lamar, Joe, and Josh. I think Joe Burrow makes a huge comeback. Not that he had to make a comeback, but I think he takes over the league this year. I think it's his time.
I love that.
Could be an MVP season.
LSU.
That's it. Hamza, any final words for Coach?
No, honestly, but I also agree with the Joe Burrow take at the end. I think the team's gonna come on different. Hopefully, the defense, is adjusting to what it was last year, and Joe Burrow's that guy, man. Come on,
He's a dog.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks again so much for taking the time to do this with us. We really appreciate it. For everyone, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube. Follow us on our Instagram. And, Coach, I'll make sure to put your IG handle and everything in our description.
Yes,
so
sir.
people can go check it out. But thanks, guys, so much, and have a good one.